welcome back to the Making It podcast. We're back for episode 49. If you're watching, if you're not, then I might have just sworn.
1 off 50.
1 off 50. We are back for another episode, talking about everything that's happened this week. Time is flying by. We turn one as a podcast on New Year's, so pretty ready for that. Pretty excited, but also pretty grateful for everything we've kind of done over this year, Dan, to be honest with you. And I don't really want to do the looking back on this year just yet, but I do kind of just want to add in a little thing and just say how grateful I am for everything that I've done this year, everyone that's helped me do those things this year, but also just everyone that's just been in my life this year, good and bad. You've all taught me different lessons, so thank you. That's what I want to say, first of all. But second of all, and most importantly, Dan, I want to ask how your week's been and welcome you back to another episode.
Thank you, brother. It's good to be chatting to you again. I completely bounced out of back. Grateful for everything, bro. And this podcast has only been another journey to be grateful for. And I couldn't be more proud of us for how far we've come with it and how far it's going to go. And all the interesting people we've spoke to and got involved. So it's been really, really awesome. But no, this week's been a good one. I would say it peaked midweek with the football, and I'll get into that. And then it's been I've taken the last few days quite slow, but still been doing a few things. But the football on Wednesday, I've got to go straight into that. So we were on 7 points. Teesside 2 were on 9 points. We're going into this game. So whoever wins goes top of the league at Christmas. The game started quite slow, but some of their players were quite frustrating. They'd go down for little things, they'd scream in the ref's face, disrespect him, really.
And just call them arseholes.
One of our players...
Please call them arseholes, bro. Please just do it.
At one point, one of our players kind of reacted to it and it kicked off a little bit, and it all diffused. And I said to their manager, like, what's up with your players? And he said it was both ways, but one of them. And then we ended up getting a penalty, missed it, and then they scored an own goal. And our striker goes and celebrates quite close to one of their players, and it makes them quite angry. Their keeper comes out, hits him in the face, takes our striker to the ground, but he ended up getting sent off. I had to defuse it, and then the ref said to me at half time, if that happens again, he's going to abandon the game. So I said to the lad, I did warn the lads that these were going to be like this before the game, but something I'm really learning at the moment, and Derek's been really good for guiding me on this one, is if people haven't experienced something before, you've got to understand they may behave in an incorrect way. If they've not gone, you can tell them all you want, but if they've not experienced it before, you can't expect them to have the perfect reaction. But second half they did, and at half time I told them the ref's message, and I just said, look, focus on our strengths. Play football and we'll win this game. Don't rise to anything, please, for the life of us, because we don't want to lose these 3 points. And we ended up going and scoring 4 goals and winning 5-0. And you know what? I was really proud. There was a good moment with one of our strikers, Richard. He was really asking me to come on for the last 5 minutes. And I wasn't going to, because George had come on about 15 minutes ago. But I thought, you know what? I'll give him a chance. And he came on for George in the last 5, and he ended up scoring the last goal of the game. So it was a really good moment. And Space Cowboy by Jemiroquai, if that's how you pronounce his name, was in the changing rooms, and that seems to be our anthem this season. We were all jamming to that, and it was just a really good feeling. And I went for dinner with my granddad afterwards. We had a good catch up, and it was really good, great feeling. And after that, took a few days quite slow. I had football yesterday, that was good fun. Went to a mate's gig, that was also good fun. But how's your week been, brother? I know you've been I think most of the messages I get from you this week have been, bro, I'm tired, man.
Yeah, I've been tired all week. This has been sorry, I'm just gonna put my blinds down. It's so windy. It's been like the weather's been crazy recently, like 41 the day before yesterday, and
41 degrees, Jesus.
41 degrees, yeah. And then it's been like 25 today, but it's been like a cold 25, which sounds weird, but it's cold, and it's like 22 here right now. So yeah, it's been a hectic week. It's been a mad week to be working in that heat, to be honest. But it's been a 50-hour week. It's been busy because it's Christmas. So if you work in hospitality, that is mental. But I was just thinking to myself, like, I got my paycheck this week, and I was like, I got a bit of dough here. Like, I was like, right. I was kind of thinking about impulse this week because I made myself a budget. I had a coffee think it was Saturday last week, and I sat in this little coffee shop at Martin's Place train station, and there was a little Italian coffee shop. Had my oat cappuccino, banana bread, extra butter. This is how I do it. It's the goated order, by the way. If you don't like
Extra
it,
butter.
extra butter with your banana bread. Yeah, because if you get dry banana bread, right, it's the worst thing in the world because it just ruins your day. If you get extra butter, you're never gonna have that problem. I'm just saying. But I had this coffee and I made a whole budget. I kind of planned out how the future was going to look. Obviously, I've been trying to move to a new flat for a while. Still trying to get some bookings for viewings and stuff. So looking at whether I go to the beach or in the city. To be honest, as long as I'm nearer the beach by half an hour, then I'm happy. So as long as I'm in the city, I'll be chill. I just want to be able to spend my days off at the beach and not have to worry about a massive drive home or any issues, because I think I've earned it. And this week has taught me that I've fucking earned it. It's been hectic. We've had functions. We've had it was busier than Melbourne Cup Day, which is a big thing out here. Melbourne Cup is like the biggest horse racing. It's like the Grand National in the UK. So everyone flocks to pubs and stuff like that. Well, this day that we had was busier than that for us. And that was on Thursday. So I finished at 2 a.m. on Thursday, 2:30 a.m. on Friday. It's just been hectic. So, just kind of adjusting to being back in the hospitality mode, adjusting to being back in hospitality at Christmas, planning to move out, trying to deal with the logistics of that. Obviously, Deck's going to be staying here. So I have made the decision to move in by myself somewhere, which means we're going to live apart for a little bit, probably 2 or 3 weeks for his last few weeks in Australia. And then, then it's just me on my own solo sailing kind of thing. So honestly, I didn't think that this would happen in terms of him going home, but also I didn't think that I didn't think I'd really do it solo. So I'm kind of nervous, but I actually feel quite well equipped and I feel ready. I feel like work-wise, I think I'm ready to move somewhere new and try something new. Still in Sydney, but I'm excited. I'm putting money aside each week, looking at, investing and stuff like that, and just trying to. I think I've settled in now. I feel actually settled in, but now I just want to move out. So I think that's been the hallmark of my week, thinking about all that kind of stuff. But I've been busy.
It's exciting, man. It's exciting. Busy, obviously, the last episode. It's exciting stuff, and I want to speak about our environments and how much that shapes us. Because I know you sent me a message on Instagram the other day of a video about, the people you surround yourself by make a real impact, and that energy is very vital. And obviously, you've had a couple of situations in Australia. You've had your time with Rebecca, you've had your time with Deck. And you can already see from those two environments how much you're thriving in this one compared to the other. And environment's such a massive thing. And who we surround ourselves by and who we feed in from shapes us. And obviously, this is a very extreme example, but I've actually been watching a documentary lately. It's the Sean Combs, The Reckoning, all about the awful things that the artist did. But if you look at his childhood and you look at the way he grew up and you look at the way his mum raised him, like a lot of the things he saw in his childhood kind of shaped him to be the person he was when he was older. And that's a very extreme example, but obviously we can't change what's happened in our childhood now. But what does happen as kids really just shape who we are when we're older. But I don't think that means that right now what happens can't shape who we are now. And I think it does. I think, I know having you as a very close friend of mine, a best mate, a brother, I get a lot of things from you, and I know a lot of the things I do have come from being friends with you, and I know a lot of friends around me shape the man I am. And I know that my parents and my brother, my girlfriend, my coaching people, everything around me just shape who I am. And it's so important that what you're doing each day and your habits and the people around you really shape you. And it's been really interesting. We've been learning and expertise. It's been a really exciting module, actually. Mareem, our lecturer's a cool guy, and we do a lot of discussions. And we've been learning a lot about deliberate practice and how people become an expert and why and stuff. And obviously, they talk about the 10,000 hour rule, and Something that was quite interesting is some people say there's a critical age where when people first start something, um, if you start in a certain period of age, like if you're young, let's say you start piano as a young kid, you're more likely going to become an expert. But then some argue that critical age is the only chance you get of being an expert. But realistically, what it is those that started earlier just started earlier to accumulate all the knowledge, whereas those who started a bit later don't have that head start, but they can still catch up to the same level. And I thought that was quite an interesting message because there's two messages in that. The first one is just start. And I know we've spoke about that before. If there's something you want to do in your life, just start it. Because a lot of the things we go into, especially as young people, but even as older people, the new projects, the new exciting ideas we have, we go into it and we realize it's not as easy as we expected. There's a lot of trials and errors, there's a lot of ups and downs. But the earlier you start, that journey of figuring it out. But then the other part is if you haven't started and you're starting off quite later in life, there's still a lot of chance to catch up and you're not behind. And it just goes to show that in our journeys, there's a lot of different elements. And whether you start early, you accumulate knowledge early, or whether you start a bit later, you can still catch up. And it's just, we can't be comparing ourselves to other people. And I remember what you said about, you're not got the same context as everyone else. You can't compare to everyone else because of we're not all on the same level playing field. And it just goes to show that focus on your journey, but just start that project because the earlier you start, the earlier you get to go. But if you haven't started just yet, you still got time to catch up. But in terms of environment, Jamie, I know Australia's been a very interesting one for you. How important is environment in terms of shaping who you are?
Well, you can't polish a turd, Dan. That's the big thing I want to say. Like, if you're living in a cardboard box, someone sitting next to you isn't going to change the fact you're living in a cardboard box. But what they can do is they can make that cardboard box feel a little bit less daunting, a little bit less shitty. And it's technically, I suppose, polishing it to some extent. But what I'm trying to get at is, I'll give you an example of where I'm living at the moment. It's a bit shit. It's pretty crap. But
Why?
being here with Deck, and the reason I think it's crap for me is because it isn't really near anything. It's quite quiet. I wouldn't say it's a nasty area. I think there's a lot of nice people. Bless you. It's pretty safe. So I suppose it ticks the boxes for a standard what you need when you first move somewhere. But it isn't great. Where we live isn't that great, property-wise. But living with Deck has made it feel awesome. Even though there is times like we were saying to each other earlier where we're like, fucking hell, just do the pots or just clean the floor, or still pots that need to be done now. To be fair, I've been waiting all day. I'm joking. I'm not joking, but do it when you want. But it's kind of, I think the thing is with environment is that it can make you not necessarily a different person, but I think it can bring out your real principles. You can be your true self in a good environment. Like, I don't think me going into a better house is going to make me a different person. I don't think that me moving to a better area is going to make me a different person, but I do think that it's going to help me with things that I enjoy more. It will help me with things that I believe in more, like hobbies, people, all these different things. I just think it will bring out different things in me, and that's the importance of environment. And you can use football as another good example because we've mentioned players before and being at certain clubs. You look at Isak at Liverpool, the environment's different. Maybe he enjoys the Liverpool environment more. I can imagine from an ego perspective because it's a bigger club and there's more money in it. But the environment at Newcastle and the system that it had was better for him. And I suppose as well, like even with work for me, like now I've left that other job where I was doing less hours and all that kind of stuff. Even just the environment, it wasn't really for me. And I didn't want to admit it out of ego, to be honest with you. I didn't want to admit the fact that maybe it just wasn't for me, and wearing a suit and, looking smart every day was actually kind of just like, I kind of just wanted to look that way because I thought, this is good, this is fun, like this is cool. But deep down, there is just quite a bit of ego in that, and I've got no shame in admitting it. I'd much rather wear an apron, my jeans and a shirt and go to work every day now where I am, because the people are great, big hours, but you almost don't feel like you're working that much, you know? Officially doing cocktails now as well. So cocktail barman. I'm switching up the Hinge profile there, Dan. But yeah, I know, giving it all that. But I think environment is massive. And it only takes you to go into an environment where you get the best out of yourself, that you realize just how important it is. But in order to do that, you've got to be willing to take those daunting steps, maybe to tell someone that they're not really good for you, and try something different.
What's something you'd be more open to changing, but more open to in your life, more open to maybe improving on, being better at, more open to being? What's something you'd be more open to maybe, improving about yourself?
More open to being.
I can start first and you can have a little think
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
Think it's an interesting one, because something I feel like I could be a bit more open to potentially improving. It's something that I'm working on. Like I feel like I'm decent at it to some level, but it's this whole idea of open-mindedness, right? I find, and it's an ego thing, I find a lot of the time sometimes when I'm having discussions with maybe some of my, it's more or less the closer friends who have different perspectives, who are doing different things in their lives. I find sometimes I get this energy within me to feel like what I'm saying is the right way. And it's a feeling which has grown less and less because I've become more aware of it. Um, and I don't want to be in a position where I want to feel like I'm right, because, like we speak about very often, is there really ever a right or wrong? It's all dependent on everyone's own lives. We all have a different experience. We speak about that environment. We all have a different culture. We all have a different upbringing. So, what someone else is saying in their life is something you would be saying if you had gone through their life.
Mm.
So, something I want to be a bit more open to is just that natural reaction to another perspective. I don't want to be closed off to it. And I wouldn't say I'm a closed off person at all. I like to say I'm an open person, but I want to be open to being more open.
Right.
I want
Okay.
to
Yeah.
unravel those layers even more. When someone has a different idea or a different perspective or a different version of thinking, I don't want to be sat here with my ego thinking, oh, okay, they're saying that, but I think my way is right. Because it may not be, but it may be right for me, but just not for the other person. So I think it's something a continuous development I feel like I'm on. But I love the journey of being open to different things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to say a different view and I'm then going to all of a sudden change my view. But it's being open to understanding another person's view and being open to that conversation. I think that's something I want to keep improving on every day.
I think that's a good way to be. I think as a world, we're not really that understanding of each other enough. I don't think, from anything, from who you love, where you live, how much money you've got, who your friends are. I don't think we understand each other enough, as people. And I think that partially this is due to social media. A lot of the people we know in our lives, we only communicate with them on social media. I would say for most people we know in our life, we only communicate with on social media. That's why we don't understand people. That's why we don't understand who is our real friendship circle. Who can we trust? You can trust anyone through a phone. I know people who text me and I'm like, your tone, I want to punch you in the face. And then you meet them in real life and you're like, you are the soundest person in the world.
Exactly, because it's just texting.
It's just texting. But this is the problem. But until we get off the phone and we kind of go out and do more stuff, then that would be better. I think my big one is, Dan, I've maybe got a couple. I would say that I'd like to maybe just go out more on my own. I think I attach my experiences too much to people. So I think a good night out for me has to be around good people. Why can't a good night out just be me going into town and just meeting random people and just having a bit of fun? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I shouldn't go on a night out with good people, because you should absolutely do that. The people make the night out better. We've all been to Rock City, right? I'm just going to use as an example. And I've been shocked at the amount of people I've met in Sydney that have been to Rock City, by the way. It is nuts. Quite a few. That's off topic. But it's not that great of a club. But when you go in with a good set of mates, you have a few beers, go to Weatherspoons before, it's going to be a good night out. Just because it's the people. But the problem for me is becoming like, I think I actually become dependent on other people in order to go on a night out, or in order to go on a holiday, or in order to go and do anything. Like, I don't want to go into the city for a coffee today on my own. Why? Why not? Fucking day off. I don't want to go to the big one for me was the gym. Like, the gym was massive for me, because when I first started going to the gym properly with Joe, and he went off to uni, I was on my own. So I stopped for like a week, because I was like, how on earth do I go to the gym on my own? I don't know what to do. But you do know what to do. But the problem is, I attached my knowledge, I attached my experience and my anxiety to someone else. So they were my comfort. Joe was my comfort at the gym, because if I had a problem, I could ask him. But also, when you're with a crowd, 2 people with a crowd, 3 people with a crowd, whatever, you don't feel really that scared, because it's me and Joe. Sound. I don't care who's looking. I've got Joe there. And it was kind of like when I first came out here, I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I need to go gym with Dak. But I'm slowly kind of learning to push that away and to stop that. It's still difficult, by the way, and I am still, again, that is something I want to improve on. The other thing, actually, I think that I have improved on, and me and Det were talking about it earlier, was just the little things that used to annoy me. I'm kind of 50% there, but they just don't really annoy me as much anymore. Someone bumps into you in the street, you used to be fucking hell, one knobhead. You know what I mean? And now it's like, it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's be right. Like, just little things, and I'm trying to just calm myself down when things stress me out. There's been times where I bit Deck's head off, and I'm like, I slam my door. I'll open it up like 30 seconds later and be like, I'm sorry, mate. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that kind of was. So I'd say that on the improvement that I want to start improving on big time, I'd say is attaching people and anxiety to people and all these different things, and to remove other people from causing me comfort. And what I'd like to do is kind of just start doing stuff more independently. Just go out there and do stuff. It's my day off tomorrow. I think I'm just going to go into the city, go to the gym, and I'm just going to go on some side quests.
I think same again, as I repeat quite often. I think it's same again. It's a perspective thing, and that idea of small things getting to you is a very interesting one, because there's a lot of people who would want to be in your shoes where that small thing's happening. So, say for example, right now in my house, there's been a few things that have broke a little bit. The back door lock broke, but Matt fixed it. One of our bulbs went. Our washing machine's been very temperamental, and some of the lads have got a little bit annoyed about it. But I wouldn't want us to be in this environment where we actually live in a really good situation, but we're worried about certain things that maybe aren't working as well, because there's a lot of people in life who would love to even be in a situation where they're in a house where a couple of things are breaking, but then again, it goes to that same thing, right? But I'm open to the fact that other people could be annoyed about that. I understand that we're paying money for this house. I completely get that. So, and it's an interesting topic, because it's like, we should be open to other people's views, right? And we understand ours. But then how much is that dynamic of, how much do we then try get across our opinion? And then how much do we try and understand the other opinion? Because do we just sit back and just go, oh, no, I understand where you're coming from, and you don't say your opinion? Or do you say your opinion and you actually don't understand the other side, so you want to try get your opinion across? Maybe it's a balance of both, but how would you kind of judge that continuum? It's a bit of an interesting one. We should understand other people's perspectives, but sometimes we want to kind of get our perspective across. Maybe it kind of works hand in hand.
Well, I'm biased, Dan, towards lots of different things. I'm a Forest fan. if I meet a Derby fan, I'm going to push it on them that Forest are a better club and that they should be a Forest because I love Forest and it's my passion. And I'm actually not really willing to be understanding of someone else's thing because they're in a conflicting space of my passion. But when it comes to things I don't know a lot about, that's when things change. If I know a lot about something, I'm probably not going to be as understanding and willing to listen, which sounds really stupid. That's just me being totally honest. But there's not a lot of things in my life that I know a lot about because I'm 20 years old and I'm still learning. So what I know a lot about is myself. And when someone tries to tell me that I'm something that I'm not, or they try and lecture me on something maybe about me, and it doesn't mean constructive criticism. It's more just trolls, really. To be honest, it's been like with Twitter and other things like that. I'm just less willing to understand. So I think when it comes to conflict of passion, I think there's less of an understanding there because you become tribal. But when it comes to things you don't know so much about, there's always that natural curiosity. And to an extent, there's also some of that natural resistance. If you don't know a lot about something, your ego also kicks in where sometimes someone might know more than you, and maybe that hurts you a little bit.
I was about to say that.
Maybe that hurts
It's an
you a bit.
ego thing, innit?
I think we all have it. And I'm not ashamed to admit that sometimes if I'm in a situation where I think I know a fair bit and someone has come in with this crazy idea, I'm like, I almost don't want to listen because I'm like, I want to believe that what I'm saying is right because that makes me feel good. But
That's what I was getting at earlier.
But at the same time, I also know that what's best for me is to learn from other people's experiences and their knowledge because they still might not be right. And I'm not searching for that. But I want to know. I want to have an informed view. And I think that having an informed view and having an opinion shaped from facts and other people's opinions is really important. And at the end of the day, I know what I've just said. Probably most people are going to be like, look at this guy. He sounds like an arsehole. But deep down, you all know you do it. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just humans and how we're wired because naturally we are competitive. We're competitive beings. But it's about, I think the important thing about what this podcast is to us, Dan, is recognition. And it's not, I'm not here preaching my sins to you, Father Dan. I'm just telling you, I'm just telling you my kind of thoughts on that continuum. But I think that would be my that's my thoughts on that. Have you been in a situation where you are less willing to listen to someone, even though you probably should?
I think that's what I was trying to get at earlier with the whole idea of sometimes I sit here and I've been in situations where I feel like I'm right and I don't want to kind of listen to the other side of something. Sometimes that's normally like a political conversation, but that doesn't happen often. But sometimes, for some reason, recently with my friendship group from home, there's been a couple politics chats, and it's just like it just doesn't. It's not a good idea.
Dan's crazy political,
But
by the way. Like, I have to stop
no,
him.
I'm not.
He's
I'm not.
mental.
Far from it. But that's probably one of the only ones really. But also just thing I can't put a proper label on it, but just things from your own experience where you feel like, yes, I know that's right because I've experienced it, and maybe they don't. Or maybe just sometimes your gut instinct with something. I do like trusting that, and sometimes I find it quite hard to not trust that. So if someone's doing something which is kind of against my gut instinct, I probably will be quite closed off to it just because I often trust it, and I think it's a good thing to trust a gut instinct.
Is it your gut interest or your gut instinct? Sorry, or is it your principles?
I think they kind of tie into each other. I think our gut instinct comes from our principles. It comes from who we are, and that
Mm.
kind of embodies all our values and principles. I think they're hand in hand. But
Yeah.
what's something going into this next week then, Jamie, you'd like to take into it? For me personally, it's my last week now at uni before Christmas. So I just want to embrace my last week being at uni up here. But I am looking forward to a month back at home and just kind of reflecting on uni and seeing people from home again.
Big birthday coming up soon as well, Dan?
Yep, 21st and the 27th of December.
Looking forward to that. I mean, I have to say, like we said before, my mission was Project Don't Go to Dan's Birthday. And I'm pleased to announce that I've successfully passed that. Or I think I have anyway. I've still got a couple of weeks left, Dan, so I might just go on the flight with Joe now. I wanted to give a shout out as well before I answer that question to Joe Molyneux, Joe on the go on TikTok and Instagram, because he came this week. The sleeping situation hasn't been ideal, but then again, where we live isn't really ideal for anyone. So I've been really busy. I've not really had the chance to spend much time with him, which I do regret a little bit. But I just wanted to shout him out because, he's had 3 months traveling Kazakhstan, China, all the crazy little places. And he's definitely worth a watch. So if you can go and have a look at him on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you get your social media, go and have a watch, because not only is it good to support your mates, but also supporting people who are genuinely good at what they do. And Joe has a very comprehensive, interesting and fun style in his vlogs. So go and have a look. Joe on the go. Don't forget, because otherwise I'll find where you live. No, I'm joking. Joe, shout out to you, mate. Have a good flight home. But going into this week, Dan, in terms of what I want to do, I've been really heavy on the investing stuff. I've actually been investing, funnily enough, 30 minutes of my time every day into researching and properly looking into it. I've put some money into an investment fund, Vanguard, actually, that we spoke about before. So I'm trying to get that sorted out. I've got a savings account now that I'm putting money into every week. So I'm just trying to be more money sensible. But going into this week, what I really want to do is I want to lock down house viewings and I want to get ready to go. And from like a mentality perspective, and from a sort of how to get the most out of my week perspective, I think I'd like to sleep more. There's been a lot of non-ideal moments this week. So partially because I like to have a beer after work, so I can blame myself. But I just want to sleep a bit more. I want to get more out of my days. I'd love to get back doing my running as well. But the big focus now is just kind of getting back into the sleeping rhythm, getting back into the gym again, and just trying to enjoy the week more. So having that coffee on my days off, just having a good time, man. Just having a good time. I want this week, in fact, my biggest aim down this week is to go on a night out. It has been ages. And I want to just go on a night out and just kind of go with some of my friends. It's so nice to have friends now. That sounds so strange, but I've actually got mates now, and was going to go to the Blue Mountains today, but it's been rubbish weather. So yeah, a couple of things there, Dan. But how about you?
Yeah, just embracing the last week of uni. We've got football this Tuesday, the last training session before Christmas. So we'll probably get the lads doing like a Christmas tournament. Gonna get them some chocolates and things. So no, it's gonna be nice. And then I'm off to my granddad's next Friday, and then next weekend we're having a little family time at my auntie's because my granddad's off to Spain for a month over Christmas. So we're seeing him for Christmas next weekend. So just taking everything in, just embracing the last week of uni and embracing my time with my family.
Love that, bro. Well, look, Christmas is an interesting time for everyone. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have the family and the friends around them. I'm only unfortunate for this Christmas, I suppose, but there's some people that aren't fortunate really at all. Not just this Christmas, but also previously and going into the future. So as much as I want to just say a happy Christmas and welcome you all to December, I do also want to just say that it is a really important month, as are all months, to reach out to your friends, to those that you love as well, just because you don't know what someone's going through. And I think around Christmas time, especially when it is meant to be the most loving time of the year, for some it's really lonely. So give that mate a call, give that mate a hug, drop that text, drop that email, do what you've got to do. Play your part this Christmas in sharing love and making it a really amazing time of the year for everyone. And if you ever want to talk to me or Dan for whatever reason, if you just want to talk about football or take the piss out of my hair or whatever, then you can do that. Just drop us an email, drop us a message, and have an amazing Christmas. Don't hesitate. But also, if you can, drop us a follow on our social media. Keep up to date with what we do, and we'll keep trying to make you as happy as we can. So, Dan, episode 49, there for the big 50 next. See you next week.
Take it easy, everyone. Merry Christmas.
See you later.
Right all night. Feel so fine.